All right, great. Thank you for joining in. Very excited to see so many of you joining in for the webinar. Hello everyone, and welcome to pCloudy's webinar on Automate Tests Before Your Build. Be test ready and achieve true shift left automation with AI agents. My name is Dinakar, and I'll be the host for today. And I would like to go over a few housekeeping rules. You may have noticed that your line is currently muted. And if you have any questions, you can submit them during the webinar using the Q&A option that is available. We will answer your questions as part of the Q&A section at the end of the webinar. But please do keep your questions coming. We would love to see what you have to say. Also note that this webinar is being recorded, and we'll send the link of the recording to share with your colleagues or watch it again later. With that said, let me introduce the speakers for today. We have Avinash Tiwari and Jessica Selvin. Avinash is a renowned thought leader and a recognized keynote speaker and the co-founder of pCloudy. He has around 20 plus years of experience in product development and testing. He brings with him a passion for emerging technology and quick adoption, both of which has solidified his reputation as a leader in the AI space as well as the app testing space. We also have Jessica, who will be demonstrating the product for us today. Jessica is a pre-sales specialist at pCloudy. She has around 4+ years of experience in the IT industry. And prior to her role here at pCloudy, she has worked with LTI Mindtree and is as an automation solution designer. She has a keen interest in data analytics and various automation tools. So without further ado, let me hand it to Avinash to kick off this exciting webinar. Over to you, Avinash.
Hello, everyone, again from my side. And thanks, Dinakar, for the introduction. Really excited to kickstart this webinar. And I can see that so many of you have joined from different time zones. Some of you are from Singapore. Must be very late for all of you, touching midnight. So really appreciate you finding time for this webinar. Everyone, good night, good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, depending on your time zones. Again, warm welcome to all of you. Grateful for you to spend your time with us for this webinar. As Dinakar said, our topic for this session is going to be how do we achieve shift left testing using the AI agents in current world that we are in. So today we'll focus more on show than talking more on theory part. So we'll not bore you much on the intro and some of the general stuff. We'll jump right into the showcase part. That's the whole objective of this webinar. But I will take a few minutes to kind of set the context, and we'll jump right in. So in my journey over 2 decades into the space of product development, testing, I have seen huge transformations many times, starting from early manual testing days to early days of test automation with tools like Windrunner, early days of Selenium, Appium. But one of the pivotal moment was DevOps and the continuous testing practices that came in that fundamentally changed the way teams had to operate. Silos got broken, the role of quality engineers really evolved, and then test automation became one of the critical pieces as far as the quality is concerned. And in last couple of years, with the rise of AI, we are again seeing a fundamental shift in the way we all need to operate. Forget about testing. In general, anything that we do right now within application development, quality engineering, deployment, every aspect of our work is getting fundamentally changed. So focus today from our side would be to kind of talk about how this new era And what we have done using some of the newer emerging technologies is helping our customers achieve what we call it true shift left. And I know that there are many skeptics, and we have been hearing this from many people that AI is not capable to handle the complex enterprise scenarios. But in last 12 months of journey that I have taken building AI agents, and what seemed like science fiction 12 months back is already being rolled into production. So my sense and my what I can foresee is that AI agents are going to be here. That's the new normal. And considering the way technology and the AI world is changing at breakneck speed, things are going to change further, right? So I'm not just saying this. You can hear it from the OG himself. 12 months back, I was also a bit skeptic when we started building this, but over a period of time, what we have seen, it's just so exciting and so amazing to see the results that we have been able to show to our customers. So that being said, I think, like I said, we'll not get into too much of theory, and we'll focus more on show than tell. But I want to take a moment to, again, emphasize the role of shift left. It has been a pipe dream from many organizations. This concept is very simple, has been there in the industry for quite some time, but it's been very, very difficult to achieve for the organizations. And in a very simple terms, you see the two graphs, traditional quality methods where most of the testing happens very late in the cycle once your bill is ready, and then testing happens, and then you go back and fix your bugs and then come back and test again. So that's the loop we have been in. So most of the testing happens late in the cycle. And the organizations have been trying, and there have been tools which has been evolving. Methodologies like TDD, BDD came into picture from the quality side of perspective to shift left the testing itself. The idea is that can we do testing as early as possible so that the bugs that we see late can be found out earlier? Because we all have been seen, we all have seen what's the impact of a bug which are found very late in the cycle. It can have huge impact in the timelines, and the cost of the project itself. So there has been many tools that came into the world, and within the AI agent space as well, there are many tools which are doing test planning, requirement analysis. But our focus has been one of the most complex problems, which is how do we bring in sprint automation? That's been like a holy grail of automation that everyone has been trying to achieve. That while my developers are building the application, can I make my automation scripts, or can I keep my automation scripts ready so that as soon as the feature is there, I should be able to run it, and I should be able to perform the testing in a fully automated way. That's been that's the problem statement we are trying to address. And in automation methodology, as far as the unit testing is concerned, the API testing is concerned, it's been easier to shift some of those testing to left. But the UI side of it, the end-to-end integration side of it, the typical user journey testing is always very late, right? So how do we shift that into the as far as left is concerned, is where we are trying to solve the problem, right? So we will talk more about how we are doing it with the AI agent that we have developed. And like I said, we'll focus more on the showcasing it. So Jessica, who has been our champion product specialist for QPilot, she lives and breathes QPilot, has been in multiple POC implementations across different customers. So she'll be taking it forward. The approach that we have taken for the demo is, first, we will talk about how QPilot works. and how it automates typical, automation, how it's used in a typical automation cycle. Your application is there and you automate it, generate scripts, run it. But then we will switch to how do we use it to move to shift left? How do you create scripts when your application is not there? That's the second part of the demo that you will see. So with that set, with that context setting, Jessica, over to you. I will jump in the second phase of the demonstration where we'll talk more about how we are using QPilot in shift left.
Thank you so much, Avinash, and hello everyone again, and good evening and good morning, depending on your time zones. So let me just quickly go ahead and share my screen and let's get started. Yeah. So with that context, right, I just want to introduce QPilot and the kind of transformation that it would bring to your testing in terms of your end-to-end autonomous testing, right? So that is the first thing I want to emphasize with QPilot is that it's an end-to-end AI agent for you, right? Right from your building your test scripts, and now we'll even be seeing even before your build is ready, right, up until executing your scripts, right? How QPilot will be that end-to-end agent for you. Right. And secondly, it is a cross-platform agent, right? So you will be able to test for your web applications, mobile applications, and soon to be API testing as well. And also this opens up a whole range of specialized functionalities, be it testing for Flutter applications, which has been a challenge, or for multi-language use cases, right? So QPilot has enabled us to open doors for several, specialized features. So that is a bit on QPilot. Let me now go into just a quick flow about how QPilot works. So firstly, from your end as a user, you just give a natural language input, right? There is no need for specialized coding knowledge in this case, right? And you will just be giving your natural language description of your test scenarios, post which the AI agents take over. It will interpret and reason, right? Identify what are those elements and objects that you're referring to, and it will generate a workflow. And the workflow generation and execution is where the feedback loop happens, where there will be multiple times where the generation happens, it will execute, see if it's working, and if not, give a feedback and fix it till it gets it right. So that is the key differentiator of pCloudy's QPilot, where you will have the accuracy of the script is very high. Right, you will have a ready-to-run script that you don't need to waste those hours debugging, right? So that is the flow of QPilot, and the tech behind it is that the AI agents all communicating with each other. First, we have the XPath locator agent, which will be identifying, going through the entire DOM structure, fetching those object properties, right? Those XPaths and locators, generate the code, and execute the steps. So that's where the feedback will be happening. And in case if there's any error, also present the error analysis. So all these agents are working seamlessly in the backend. And again, I want to point out this flow and this technology is what enables it to be really accurate with the feedback happening. So with that, let's just see first how QPilot works. So firstly, I'll be taking you through a generic flow of QPilot, and then we will be moving into specialized features that Avinash was mentioning. So this is the landing page of our platform, of pCloudy platform. It's a SaaS-based application, and you will be able to access both our devices and browsers. So we have 5,000 plus device browser combinations, all real devices that are hosted in our data center, right? And these are all real devices in the sense that they're not simulators or emulators. And we have multiple data center locations across the US, Europe, UAE, and India and Singapore, right? So these are all the real devices that you're seeing here. Let me just quickly go ahead and connect to a device. So once I click on connect, I will have complete access of the device with me. So this will enable you to do your standard functional testing, where you will be able to install your application and do your functional validations, where we also support several specialized features like enabling your logs or testing for biometrics, QR code scanning, and so on. So these are all those features. If you're interested in our normal functional features, you can reach out to us. But as this is focused on QPilot, I will straight up go to the QPilot mode. Let me click on the QPilot mode over here, and now we are in the QPilot mode. So the only prompt or the only thing you need to do from your end here is to give your test description in natural language, right? So I'm selecting my build, right? And I'm giving the app package and the app activity name, a feature name that I'm testing for, and I'm going to give my test description in plain and natural language. So let's just go ahead and do that. So I'm just giving a natural language description over here. So I don't want to input static data for my password. In that case, you can just add your test data in the JSON format here, which I'm going to go ahead and do. And I'm adding the test data. I'm going to save my test case under a particular test suite and give a test case name. And now I will simply generate my test case. So firstly, what's going to happen is that based on the application details, it is going to install the application into the device, post which the AI agents will kick in and start doing its magic, right? So it will be able to launch the application and generate each step. So yes, the application has been launched, and now the AI is going to start interpreting the step, and then get into and identifying what are those objects it's referring to, do the particular action, and execute it step by step. So this does take its time. So we have prioritized accuracy over speed. So instead of the time that you would spend debugging a script or having to regenerate multiple times, right? We have prioritized accuracy here. And so it will take its time, maybe a minute or so for a script to get generated. But post which you will have a ready to run script. You do not need to worry about debugging it. It will simply be ready to run, and you can trigger it across different devices. So yeah, for example, here the first step is to enter the username in the username field. So that is completed, and progressively it will keep adding and executing each and every step. So this is what brings about that accuracy. So I was talking about the feedback that happens between the workflow generation and the execution. So that's what's happening here, where for every step there is a generation and an execution, and that feedback happens to ensure step accuracy. So the login has happened now, and it will click on transfer, and then the script will be ready. So yeah, it has clicked on transfer, and now we're ready to generate, go to the QPilot dashboard to view our script. Of course, I've given a fairly small test case, but of course, there's no limit to the number of test steps you can give here. You can add validation steps and assertion steps as well. Yeah, so here is the description, and here is our ready to run script. It's available in multiple languages, so JavaScript, Python, Java, right? And even we are soon bringing about a template feature where you can even have it in a template of your framework as well. So you can run this script directly individually, right? But if you want to, how we typically do testing would be is to add it into our collection and run it as a suite, right? So I'm going to go to the create collection option here. And I'm just going to add a few test cases. So here is where you can achieve true cross-platform testing. You can select test cases across your web, your iOS-based test cases. I'm going to insert a couple of iOS-based test cases and a few from our Android-based test cases. And I'm going to give a name to my collection. and then select the devices that I would want it to run on. So here for my Android, I can just choose the OEMs, right, or which specific device you want it to run on. And you can give a version range, the OS version range, and the number of devices you would want it to run on. Similarly, you can do the same for iOS. So I'm just giving a range from 15 to 18 here, the number of devices, and clicking on save. So once this is done, I can simply run it and trigger all the test cases with a single click. And you can also trigger this from your CI/CD as well. So yeah, I've triggered my collection. Now I can go to the live session to see the live view, or I can head straight to the reports as well. So here in the My Active session, so you will be able to see all the live views that are coming in, as well as the reports. So we have a progressive report. So as and when test cases are getting executed, you will be able to see the live reporting of the same. So yeah, as you can see, we have all these automation runs that are being triggered in our live view, right? And if you want to see, you can even go into the live view and you'll be able to see what actions are exactly taking place on your device. Else you can just wait, simply wait till your execution run is completed, and you can go into your report page, simply click on your build or your collection name, and you will be able to see the status of all the test cases, how many were completed, how many failed, right? And into each and every test case, you will be able to see, the text logs, the device logs, your APM logs as well, and app profiling details with your CPU memory details, as well as the video of the entire session. So this will be available for every automation trigger that you do. So that is a bit on collections. So I have just taken you through a very basic and a simple flow of how Qpilot is enabling you to just trigger your generation, right? From our end, we have simply given a natural language input. We have not reviewed or spent time debugging our script, and we have executed our collection, and we're able to see the results of our test suite. So this is how Qpilot really helps you and enables you to achieve that autonomous testing that I was talking to you about. So with that, let me just hand it over to Avinash to take you through the specialized use cases, which we will now be walking.
Yeah. Thanks, Jessica. It was a great demonstration, and I hope everyone kind of understood how Qpilot works. So just to set the context, what you saw was a typical use of Qpilot in helping you create automation scripts in a completely autonomous way when your application builds are there. And that's how any UI automation across web, mobile works, that you get the build ready and then you create your automation scripts, you add that to your regression suites, sanity suites, etc., and then go ahead and run it. The collection feature that you saw while Jessica added few devices, but it can you can scale it up to any number of devices depending on the licenses that you have. So you can run it on maybe 50 concurrent instances, 100 concurrent instances. So that's the level of scalability you can achieve. So you create your script autonomously, you execute it on a large infrastructure, all that with very few clicks. That's the power of Qpilot. Now, what we are talking today is about shift left, right? How do we shift to or move to a state where I can create my scripts when my application build is not there, right? And typically we have seen this approach with TDD, BDD, where we create our, we keep our scenarios ready, and as soon as the build is there, you try to generate the script. But again, you have a limitation there that you need the application build where you create the script, verify, and then add to your collection or suites. We have gone one step further, and there are two approaches that we have taken. I'll explain those approaches in a bit, and then Jessica will demonstrate how those approaches work. So Jessica, yeah. So the approach one is very typical scenario where, let's say, you have already created a regression suite. There are test cases already automated. let's say, take the example of QPilot, you have already automated some of the functionalities which are there in your current build. It could be, let's say, 100 test cases, 200 test cases. Now there is a new build coming in, let's say, next 2 weeks for your current sprint, and there are some new features getting added. Now, how do you ensure, or how do you achieve that state where the day your build is ready, your automation script should be ready? That's the problem statement. So basically what we are saying is that you have certain scripts ready and you are planning to add new scripts for your new features, which will be released in this sprint. Right? That's the situation, and that's the use case. So basically QA teams are supposed to add new test scripts for upcoming features and run regression along with the new feature scripts. That's typical in sprint automation that we want to achieve. Now here what we have done is, since you already have some scripts created, we have historical data. AI is very smart to understand the historical data. We're using that historical data of previously generated scripts and then have added something called think and act approach for the new steps that you need to add, right? And the think and act steps are only for the features which will be upcoming in the sprint. Rest of the steps will be taken from the historical steps that has been already generated. Now, what this enables us is to create a pre-generated script even before your application is ready. And what we call is, some scripts will be the real script because some of the steps has already been generated. The steps where we have added a think and act tag, for those very real life like placeholders are getting added. Again, we are adding the placeholders because we know how your, for example, how your developers are creating the name of your object, label, etc. So very real life like placeholders are getting added. And there's no surety that those placeholders will be really working when your build is ready. But that's when the build is available and when you run it as part of collection, our feedback loop that Jessica explained earlier, that there'll be a step execution, and if it fails, it modifies it. So in a way, it self-heals on its own during the execution time, and your scripts gets generated and executed as soon as the build is ready. So that's the first approach, and that's the most used approach in many customer scenarios that we have tried with. The second approach is it takes it one step further. However, this is less likely scenarios in most cases, where let's say you are developing your application for the first time, you have no historical test case, or you are creating an automation project for the first time. You don't have your application built, you don't have your previous test script, so there's no historical context that we can use. Now, how do we achieve the automation in that state? This becomes much more resource intensive for us. But in this case, you just give your natural language descriptions and we will generate the scripts totally at the runtime during your suite execution. So this can be used when you don't have any historical test case data. You don't have the application built at all to create any historical data, right? So let's say I'm creating a new product which is going to be launched in 1 month from now. Can I create some of my automation scripts for the product which will be launched in next 2 weeks or so? Right? That's the state we are talking about here. So these two approaches we will show. However, approach one is where we see the most usage in the real world conditions, but we'll show both. And we are also kind of talking to many customers, experimenting which works best for them. We love your feedback as well as to what do you think, which one would work in your scenarios. So let's see it live working rather than me talking about it. So over to you, Jessica, again.
Yeah, thanks, Avinash. So let me just take you through the example that we'd be using for both the approaches that Avinash just explained. So we have a build here. It's a sample banking app where we have, this is the build 1, where these are the features that are available. And we have a build 2 where a couple of features have been added that is the add card feature, right? So we have the scripts already generated for our build 1. But we have to test this new feature that is coming in our build 2. But our build 2 is not yet available with us, but I still want to begin my testing. Say you just have a Figma of your of the new features, right? So this is the first use case that I will be demonstrating. So with that, let me just go back to the platform. Let me just log in back to the platform. And I'm getting into the Qpilot dashboard here and seeing all my test cases. Now, just for the purpose of this demonstration, let's assume that these are all the test cases that I've developed for my first build, right? And this is the second build that's coming in, and I want to create a test case testing for the new add card feature, but I still do not have the build ready with me, all right? So let me just, I will go ahead and click on create new test case, and in this case, it's for a mobile, so I'm just clicking on mobile Android, selecting my suite under build 2, and I'm giving a test case name, right? So let me just give a name to this. Yeah, application selection, and then I'm going to give the app package and the app activity name. The feature that I'm testing for, and then the description. So let me just take you through the description. I think Avinash had already elaborated. So for example, here, the login functionality is already there in my build 1, right? So that will be as you have done in your previous testing scenarios. When I add this hashtag act, right, below my, before or prior to my description, this notifies the AI agent that this is a step that would be generated at the runtime, right? So right now in my build, I do not have these features, but I still want to proactively create my script before the build comes, and I just have, say, the Figma of this, right? So in that case, for all those steps that involve the new feature, I will go ahead and add the hashtag act, and then continue to give my test description exactly like how I would for a normal Qpilot test case, right? So, and let me also add the test data for this, for the username and password. Yeah, and I'm adding the test data, and I am saving my test case, right? And now, once, now I will go ahead, go to the feature, the script that I've created, right? And as you can see here is my description, and I will simply click on create script. Now, when I click on create script, what will happen is I have the actual script generated for my first 3 steps for the where we already have the build. And for the rest, I have placeholder scripts that is based on the prior intelligence that is already there because we have developed scripts for build 1, right? As Avinash was explaining for approach 2. So I have a placeholder script for the rest of the steps. So for example, you can see here the AI is saying placeholder action for runtime interpretation. So this, we are not sure whether this script will work at the runtime. So there will be that feedback loop that will happen at the runtime to ensure that the script is accurate and your test cases are getting executed. So once this is done, you can simply go to create collection, add your new feature into the collection, right? And you can give a name to the collection. I'm just adding a build name, in this case, build 2, and selecting the devices that I wanted to run on. You can also combine this with all your previous existing test cases for build 1 as well. That would be applicable for build 2, and go ahead and save your test case. And now I can simply go ahead and run this collection, and I will be able to see the report for the same. So let's just go to the live session. So in the live session, what will happen is runtime generation will be happening, and then post which the execution will happen. So this ensures, so you do not need to spend that time generating your script at only after the build is ready, right? So you have just created your scripts, and now you're simply, as and when the build becomes ready, you can just trigger your test case or your collection, and it will generate at runtime and then execute it. Let's just go to the reports.
Just one point that this
Yes, Avinash. Yeah.
this collection, you will execute it only when the build 2 is available, right? So it can be done using CI/CD. So as soon as your build 2 is pushed to your Git or any other platform that you're using, this can be triggered and your automation scripts can be created and executed, and you can just focus on going and checking the reports.
Right. So once you can see the live view, or you can just directly go ahead to your report section, and once the execution is done, simply view the reports. So here is the build 2. It's currently in progress. So I can also see, for example, another sample report for the same, right? So here you'll be able to see, just like how I showed you, the text log, device logs, your APM logs, and the video of the entire test case. So this will be available again for each and every test run that you do. So that I hope the approach 1 has been clear. So we've had a new feature, and we've tested it. We've created the test cases without the build, and at the time when the build becomes ready, I'm just simply triggering my collection and getting all these reports, right? Next, I will move to our second use case. So this is when no version of your application is available, right? So
Sorry to
yes,
interrupt.
yeah.
One more point that I wanted to add here was, when the build 2 was available and we ran the script, the placeholder will get replaced with the actual script. So you go back and see the script again in your Qpilot dashboard, you will see the placeholders getting removed, and the actual script, actual DOM element, the actual action of the object will be displayed here. And even the description act can be will be removed. So that's the so that the feature which was missing becomes the feature which is available, and you can now focus on the other features which are upcoming. So those will be part of the act and think. Rest is part of the normal Qpilot mode. So it's that intelligence is already built. Go ahead, Jessica.
Thanks. Yes. So the second use case is when no version of the application is available, and again, as Avinash mentioned, this would be resource intensive, because you do not have any history or previous builds, right, for that intelligence, and you're creating. So you can create your entire test descriptions, right, without the build. So here we have used our own pCloudy application as an example, and assuming that this is a new build and we're going to be testing for a particular feature called My Bookings, right? So that's what we're going to do here. So again, I will go to my Qpilot dashboard, go to all tests, and say, I have a new feature, this feature that I want to test, right? And I'm simply going to go ahead and create new test case. And in this case, it would be browser, right? I would select which suite that I would want it to be a part of, right? And I'm going to give a feature name and so on. So I'm going to give the URL of the application here. And then a description. So in this case, the description need not be marked with hash act, because it's going to be the entire test case is going to be generated at the runtime, right? So I'm going to save my test case, and I'm simply going to go to my collection, and I'm going to add the booking feature collection. I can also add, multiple test cases here. I'm just going to add a few more. Give a name to my collection. Collection details needed, you can add that, and simply, give a name to your build, right? So you can see that the My Booking feature one, where where we have just given the description, the toggle for runtime generation is enabled here. So what this means is, firstly, it will go ahead and do an execution, a QPilot generation, like how I showed you in the beginning, right? It will do that generation and get the script, post which it will then trigger the run for all these 3 test cases. So whenever you select a test case at the runtime generation enabled, what it'll first execute the entire script and generate the script, and then it will be able to execute all your test cases as a collection. So this is in the case where we are not creating the script or adding a particular feature functionality testing, but it's for the entire description of your use case being generated at the runtime. So I'm just going to again select the browser that I wanted to run on and go ahead and save my collection, and I'm going to go ahead and run my collection. So the collection executed has started. I can simply go to the live view session here and see the generation taking place. Else I can again simply go to my reports and go ahead and view that. So here is a sample report. This is the report where we have generated, just executed a while back. So this is the new My Booking feature, along with all the other functionalities as well. So for example, if I go here, again, I will have the logs of my entire test case with the video of the entire session that's happening. So you can see that the script has gotten generated and executed from scratch, right? So I have not spent that time generating my script, waiting for my build, right? And it's going and clicking on My Bookings, and the execution is completed. So what has happened here is, firstly, the script has gotten generated and executed in a single click. So that is the explanation of our second feature, where you do not have a version of your application, or you do not have history or any historical data from previous builds. You would still be able to do that shift left and bring about your automation at the time of development. So with that, I hope those 2 use cases gave you some insights into the kind of breadth of test cases and use cases that are possible with QPilot, and the kind of testing and shift left that you would be able to do here. So with that, I'll again hand it over to Avinash to conclude on this.
Thanks, Jessica. Thanks a lot for explaining this so well and showing the real-time execution and creation of scripts for both the cases. On the second case, I want to add one more scenario where you can use it. So if your application is changing very frequently, right? I mean, especially when your application is in the initial stages of development, there are many changes which are happening. So if you create the script and keep it and use that, it fails many times because the UI has changed, elements have changed, and then you need to recreate it, or use self-healing, which are again not useful when there are so many changes, right? Self-healing can work if there are some locator-based changes and some elements have changed, but if there are many changes in your application, it fails. And that is where this whole runtime generation, where we are not dependent on any previously generated script. We take the context of the application at the runtime, generate the script, and then go ahead and execute it, right? Like I said, it would be little resource intensive. The execution will take a bit more, a bit of time compared to the normal execution, but you are ensuring that your scenarios are getting tested even when your applications are changing, right? So that's the power of this whole runtime generation that we have been able to build. So depending on your situation, you can choose approach 1 and approach 2. If your application is already stable and you are focusing on testing new features which are upcoming in the next sprint, the approach 1, where think and act, works well. But if your application is very dynamic, going through a lot of changes, then you can opt to use runtime generation till your application is stable. And as soon as your application is stable, you can always switch back to your standard generation and where your pre-generated scripts will be used and your executions will be much faster. So that's the power Qpilot provides, with so much flexibility for you to choose across different approaches that you can use across, within your organization and depending on your situation. So with that being said, I just wanted to conclude this webinar. Thank you so much for joining, and I hope you have seen what AI agents can do. Like I said, this whole AI agent space is evolving very fast. We are seeing changes at breakneck speed from the LLM perspective. LLMs are becoming much more smarter. So all the initial challenges that anyone encounters with AI agents are getting solved as we speak. So I foresee that AI agents are going to be the primary way of, testing, automating the scripts, and the QA and the humans can focus on much more complex tasks. That's the scenario we are looking at going forward. Do let us know your feedback. If you wish to try, do reach out to any one of us or our support or contact email IDs. We would be more than happy to talk to you and address your specific use cases. Thank you so much. I loved talking about it and hope it's been helpful. With that, we'll open up for Q&A. I can already see many questions in the chat window. We'll try to address as many as we can in the limited time that remains. And if we are not able to do that, we will send an email answering your question. So the first question is around, would this be able to recognize regular UI elements that are clickable but don't visually appear as buttons? Yes, we have been able to support most of the UI elements that exist in generic applications. However, we do find new objects, new controls, custom controls. For that, we might have to improve the training of the model. But once that training is done, I think the model understands, and the next time you generate the script, it works fine. So there can be a bit of iteration in making sure that your specific controls have to be added to our model. But we have tested across most of the generic application. We have implemented in customer scenarios. We have done, many customer pilots successfully. So this, like I said, our focus was to build accuracy, and we have been able to achieve that pretty successfully. One use case that Anupam is asking about, tapping on video player to pause or resume. Yes, it's definitely possible. Interacting with a map to set a location or drag it around. So drag and drop is a bit of challenge. It works, but how much drag do you want to do? There's no way to kind of specifically mention. So it depends on your use case. We can try and see. As I said, it can always be improved depending on the specific scenario that we come across. Another question is around, I'm keen to see how the tool will support dynamically changing web portals. This is a specific use case for our organization. That's exactly what we are trying to address with Approach 2, Giri. We would be more than happy to talk to you and show you how it works. Like I said, Approach 2 generates the script at the runtime. It doesn't depend on the previous state of your application or previous state of the script which was generated. So it takes the current state of your application as the context and generates the script at the runtime. So even if your applications have changed, as long as your scenario remains same, the steps that you have mentioned remain the same, the validation that you want to do remains the same, it will generate a new script and that will get executed. So that will solve the scenario that you're talking about. Third question from Devdutt. How does the feature platform with apps with Flutter and PWA screen? We are one of the first one to support Flutter on real devices. There are other platforms who are supporting Flutter on simulator, emulators, etc. We are the first one to support Flutter apps on real devices. So we welcome you to come and try and see and give your feedback. In fact, we just released one video of Flutter apps with Qpilot. So we can share that video as well. Yes, we are. The question is around recording of the session. Yes, we are recording the session and we'll be sharing that with you once this webinar is over. I think you should get that recording maybe tomorrow as part of your email. So please do check your email and access the recording link. If in case you're not getting the link, do reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to share it individually. Question from Sashank Joshi, will it be able to handle pagination and verify value of table on UI to XLS? Yes. I mean, we have tried complex scenarios like validation in tables, etc. So it's definitely possible. We can try on your case and show it to you. Can we provide test data via Excel sheet or DB access? I mean, it's possible. Right now, we have not enabled that feature, but we are passing it on JSON data, so we can just link your DB and Excel and convert that data to JSON and feed to our Qpilot. So theoretically, it's possible. Right now, that feature is under development. It will soon be available within the product. Abhilash, how secure these agents are? Absolutely. I mean, these are running in our secure environment. We have an option of hosting separate agent in a private environment as well. So if you're working in a regulatory environment within, for example, it's a BFSI or pharma kind of industry, we can create a private instance for you, which is absolutely dedicated, secured, air-gapped for your organization. Another question, how it will be handling the dynamic elements in a web page? That's the whole crux of how Qpilot works. We have been able to crack this algorithm of handling the dynamic objects through the feedback mechanism that we have created. So there are multiple agents working together where we find, depending on your natural step, we find which element it is. We try to find out the locator, which we execute it at the runtime, and then if it fails, we try another locator. So all that is happening behind the scene. Agents are performing those tasks, passing feedback to each other. And finally, when the step is executed, you see the result, you see the script. So, I mean, that's the power of AI that gives us these kind of functionalities. Will it be able to perform API and load testing as well? Yes. I mean, we have not enabled load testing right now. We have enabled inclusion of API tests. So like you saw in the Qpilot dashboard, or when you're creating the test, you can add API step in your functional tests as well. We have already kind of developed independent API test suites, but right now you can integrate your API test within your functional scripts and then run it along with your functional mobile application, web application. So what the objective that we have taken is that let's enable true end-to-end scenario generation for your customer, for our customers. So you can, within a collection, you can start with your web, you can switch to API, you can move to your mobile. Within mobile, you can choose Android, iOS in one collection running sequentially or parallelly, depending on how your test cases have to be executed. So truly integrated end-to-end testing can be achieved. One question is around from where we should get the package name and other fields detail, which Jessica showed in the first step. So, I mean, every application, especially in the mobile app, has a package name. Either your developers can provide that, or we have a small utility which you can run and get these details. So as soon as you upload the APK or IPA on our platform, we call it My App Data, which is a repository where you store all your applications. It automatically scans your application and gives that detail to you, which you can use it while you are creating the test cases. right? And we also have a feature which we call it collection level configuration. So even if you have given certain build name, package name at your test level, but if that has changed, you don't need to go and change at the test level. While you're running the collection, you can run the collection on your different builds. You can run it on a staging, you can run it on your QA, you can run it on your prod. So just change the configuration at the collection level and then run it across different environments. So that's also quite easy to do with Qpilot. Yeah. Another question is, how will it handle where multiple platforms are involved? One product generates some data. We have intermediate layer, which we use to process this data based on some condition, then transfer it to platform like Salesforce. I mean, right now, that is something we need to kind of enable. I mean, what you are effectively asking for is passing the data from one test case to other, which is very easy to use because, I mean, it's just about creating parameters and then passing, though that work is still going on. We have that in one of our other tool, which was record and playback codeless engine. We have to bring that in the Qpilot mode as well. So once that is done, then you can achieve this state. Right now, we are assuming that each scripts in itself are independent, and then you can run it in a sequence or in parallel, depending on the depending on the case that you want to execute. Another question is, can it understand the PR changes and take corrective action? I mean, yes, that is definitely possible. That's been proven by, I mean, that's one of the first use cases AI agents started solving. So that's definitely possible with our Qpilot as well. But right now we have given the control to the QA team to either update it or keep it the same. But we can link it with your Git repository and let it update fully automatically. More philosophical question. What will be the future of QA role in many product companies? Will developers do testing and QA role has come to extinct? I mean, that's the question everyone is grappling with, but I don't think so that's the case. What we definitely see is that everyone has to start learning AI and start integrating that in our daily work. So the famous saying is that AI will not replace you. If you don't learn AI, then you will get replaced. That's the much more practical or foreseeable future statement that I can make. QA will be doing much more complex tasks in terms of analyzing, creating much detailed scenarios. Right now, majority of the time of QA goes into creation of scripts, fixing the script, and then we tend to miss some of the corner scenarios. A lot of exploratory testing doesn't happen. So QA has to focus on really understanding the user journeys, creating complex scenarios, while the AI agents can take up these repetitive tasks of generating the script, fixing when there is a failure. So in that sense, AI will become an assistant to you. I don't think there is a case of that QA will become extinct. In fact, in this world, QA is becoming much more important because the change of the pace of change has increased. Everyone wants to release faster. You can't do that in a completely autonomous way, right? I mean, you need people to monitor, you need people to intervene. We have always believed that there will always be a human in the loop, but that human has to work with AI. I mean, if you think that I can do it the traditional way, I think that is definitely going to change. Especially, for example, we come up with a lot of queries in the automation space around record and playback codeless tools. I mean, I don't see a future for codeless tools at all going forward. So that is definitely going to happen in next year or so. Most of the tools will have to switch to this whole AI agent methodology. And we have been at the forefront of bringing the AI agent into practice from almost a year now. We have reached a very high level of accuracy as far as the effectiveness is concerned, fidelity is concerned. Does it require any coding knowledge? Can manual testers work on it without coding knowledge? That's another question. Absolutely. We are generating the script and showing it, but that is not required to be changed. I mean, we have given the script right now. Let's say if you have already built your framework outside Qpilot, let's say you have Appium framework already built, and you don't want to tie yourself with something like Qpilot, you can just generate the script, copy it in your framework, and use it. That's the only reason we are showing the script. Otherwise, that script doesn't require any change, that doesn't require any addition. So anyone who just can write the natural language test descriptions, add the test data, add into collection, should be able to run. So it's typically designed for anyone who is part of the testing, business users, product managers, anyone can just write the scenarios and then get the automation scripts ready, right? So hope that answers your question. Okay, great. I think there are a few more unanswered questions, but in the interest of time, we have already crossed almost an hour. Thank you so much again, and thanks for asking so many questions, being so interactive. Would love to hear your feedbacks. Any more questions, feel free to drop in. You can connect with us on LinkedIn, reach out to our support. We'd love to interact and hear from you. And if you like what you saw, go ahead and share. We'll really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a good night or great day, depending on where you are. I think we will conclude for the day.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Avinash and Jessica, for sharing your wisdom in the field of, AI-powered digital experience testing. You've done a great job at doing a deep dive into adopting AI agents and showing us how to automate tests even before the build. So thank you so much. We also want to thank each one of our participants who are here. And, you've been a great bunch of participants who have been very engaging. And I'm sure that some of these insights that were shared by Avinash and Jessica have sparked a few ideas to think through and implement. My recommendation would be to, mull over these ideas, talk to your teams, reach out to us to discuss further, and keep the conversation going. So if you do, and do feel free to reach out to us with any questions. You can write to us at info@peakcloudy.com, or just click on the chat option on our website and we'll directly reach out to you. You can also reach out to Avinash and Jessica, using their LinkedIn handles. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to answer your questions or, route it to the right person within the organization. So thank you once again for being a great, engaging audience, and happy testing.